it was nail-biting stuff, of course, all the way to the end. Shawnee fired over that point. It seems from 100 metres out. Well, it certainly was 100 metres out if you were in the back stand, the Devon stand, lads, trying to peer through the crowd and see what was happening. But I mean, the joy, the celebrations, the white flag, most importantly, the kids, the bigger kids and the adults and everybody jumping around, the new jerseys and the old jerseys and the jerseys from 97 and fellas with no jerseys on them at all, actually, as well, some of them. But two fellas that have jerseys on tonight, delighted to tell you, is Liam Brosnan. He gave up a concert there in Henry Street there yesterday to go and watch the match for us. Fair play to you. And John Kennedy, of course, proper professional. He was up in Crow Park earlier checking out the field and everything. Delighted to have the two boys on. John Kennedy, I'll start with you. Last time you said if Kerry were going to win a game, they needed their character to be tested. They certainly had that yesterday.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it, Donal, because look, this Dublin team, we said here a few weeks ago that the team that beat Dublin and win the All-Ireland, I felt there was a kick in them, and they certainly went down fighting yesterday. What an occasion, first of all. I suppose we've been in Croke Park many times, but I think the atmosphere, the colour and the noise for the parade was something special, really. You'll only get it in Kerry and Dublin. It's really special.
There was a great hunger there. I mean, people went up. I mean, we haven't beaten Dublin since 2009, and I suppose when you don't beat a team, you kind of go up with your head under your shoulders. But Kerry people went up proud yesterday. They went up expecting to win, and they backed their team, and their team delivered.
They did, yeah. I met you on the street there yesterday one stage before the game, but the general consensus was we were ready to have a cut. We had a team ready to go, and we needed to beat Dublin. And we were the better team. But look, it came down, Donal, I suppose, to a piece of magic from Shawnee Shea. What a strike to win the game. And, while it was a bitter pill for Dublin, ourselves and Mayo have been at the end of, we'll say, Stephen Cluxton and Dean Rock doing the same thing from not as far out. But what a way to win it. And a huge boost going into an All-Ireland final. I suppose maybe a downside is an injury to Gavin White. It didn't look great, but look, a lot of game time into some of the subs. They all played their part when they came on, and a great victory. But the real character, as you said, came through. We went to the wire, and we had leaders all over the field. They stood up, and a fantastic victory.
Yeah, absolutely. We were talking about the importance of key players and players standing up, Liam, ahead of this game, of course, and you said, actually, believe it or not, our big players need to play big. Our big players certainly played big when they were needed yesterday.
And they did, Donal, and I suppose that's probably the satisfactory thing about the whole thing was after the Mayo game we had a lot of question marks, and I
like we lost it, wasn't it?
It was, yeah, and and I suppose. And no more like yesterday. Like Jack probably went back during the week after the Mayo game, and these guys know themselves. You know yourself when you come off the field and you didn't perform, and they went out with a bit of a chip in their shoulder yesterday. David Clifford, Shawnee Shea, they were the two main guys, and you could see they wanted it. And I suppose the old rivalry as well between Kerry and Dublin. Look, everyone wants to. If you're a footballer, that's where you want to be. And on a sunny day above in Crow Park with a near capacity crowd, sure, what more could you ask for?
It's the stuff of dreams, obviously. I mean, there's loads of little boys and girls out in their back garden tonight kicking the ball from 55 metres down across the lawn. I mean, and that's the specialness about it, isn't it?
It was, and if we saw yesterday, the excitement of the whole thing, and I had my own girl Megan, her first time up in Crow Park yesterday as well, and her mother said she never stopped. And I was talking to a lot of families after, and the same thing, the joy. Like, we've come down them steps down with the last since 2009 with a lot of sad faces, and I do think we deserved that yesterday. We didn't. I suppose, look, we're dissecting it all day with different people. We probably, there's probably a lot more in us. But if we go back to the last couple of years, there's not ever only a kick of a ball between Dublin and Kerry, and at last we've been at the right side of this one. And you got to give great credit to the Kerry management, the Kerry players, the whole lot. I think Jack has ticked all the boxes so far, Donal. From the McGrath Cup, he's laid down a marker that he wants to win all games. We spoke about it here for years about releasing players back into the club to play football. He's done that. I was at a couple of county league matches. Two of them actually Saturday night, and you had Craig Horn with Crokes, Dana Dunhu with Spa. These guys are eager to go back in again Tuesday night. David Moran, when he was injured, played with Cairns Rally. It was something different, and you could see that the whole kind of the camaraderie, the spirit and the structure that we have. And I think that's a big thing. We're on about Jim Gavin, his processes and all this kind of crack, but I think that Jack and his management team have a structure with this Kerry team. You have a lot of guys there that have roles to do. They mightn't become man of matches, they mightn't become all-stars, but they're doing a role for Kerry, and it's showing, because we're just a couple of stats. We scored 68% on shooting again this week. We kept Dublin to 58%. No, so you keep Dublin to 58% shooting. That's credit down to the.
Like you were struggling studying for the leaving cert again last night. Were you on the way home? Yeah. Poor old John Kennedy. What will you be doing, John? Let's go back and talk about the atmosphere first before we move on, because we will break down the game and how it was won and analyse it. One of the things that struck me yesterday about the Kerry support. An awful lot of children, and Liam touched on it. His daughter, my son, was at it. He's 10. It's not his first final, but it's the first time experience a win as a 10-year-old. And even a lot of the people dotted around the Devon stand there, they were 17, 18, 19 years old. It's a new generation of supporters kind of washing themselves through. And then at the other end of the thing, the Kerry Supporters Club that went up yesterday, and they do fabulous work, and they're up. You have people in their 80s at those games as well. I mean, the tradition is still there. The tradition is fierce important, isn't it?
Oh, there's no doubt about it, Donal. And the passion. My daughter, I was talking to Catherine last night on the way back. They wanted to be in to see the Kerry team coming out. It was special. But meeting the older generation, the passion they have, the commitment, and almost emotional, really, to see Kerry winning in Croke Park again against the Dubs. And that's what football is about, like that rivalry, that friendly rivalry. And I think we saw it last night when we came home. The teams were going down the tunnel. Jack O'Connor gave a tip on the shoulder to Kieran Whelan. To Kieran Kilkenny.
Yeah.
And
it was a special moment.
It was a special moment.
Yeah.
It summed up what the GA is about.
Especially with all the nonsense in the hurling side where two fellas won't shake hands to each other. I mean, Kieran Kilkenny could have beat Kerry yesterday, and Jack O'Connor could have lost his job over it.
There's no doubt, and he has hurt us for years in a footballing sense.
It's respect.
It's respect, and it was there. It was played in the best sporting manner you could get. Hard hitting, some on the edge stuff. But look, we have to say that passion, that rivalry, it's so difficult to beat it. And Kerry and Dublin bring something special. But this was a special victory. We spoke about it off the air, Liam and myself. Had we lost yesterday, regardless what the manner was, it would have been a huge dent for Kerry teams going forward and for the management team. They have done everything right. It's another box ticked, and you have to give huge credit to Jack and Michal Quirk and Dermot Murphy, Paddy Talley, and whoever else is involved. They have done everything perfect to perfection. And yesterday it came down to the last kick, but you could see the joy, what it meant to everybody. It was just they just broke out, jumping around the place like young fellas after winning. Right. That's what it means to Kerry, and it was reciprocated up on the stand. There was tears of joy from young and old. We're back in an All-Ireland final, and fair play to them. Great stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, it's the 2-horse race now, Liam, of course, and we have races for you in Killarney to seeding forward. We're covering, we'll be going across there to the 6:15 one fairly shortly. Liam, a lot of the plaudits, of course, going to the forwards, and I suppose when you leave and you walk down the tunnel of the Devon, you come down Henry Street and all the way back to your car, people are talking about, you're overhearing conversations, and you're in your head you're agreeing with some people, and in more head you're saying, Mother of God, was he at the game at all, that kind of way, or what match was he watching?
Beautiful thing about Kerry.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, two people 6 foot apart and two different opinions on the same player. I suppose that's what sets us aside here in Kerry. But the case for the defence, I felt yesterday, was overshadowed by a performance from the forwards, but we would have lost that game if our defenders weren't up there. I mean, time and time again, the amount of chances that Dublin coughed up because our men stood up tall, won ball, didn't foul, didn't give away frees. I mean, that was amazing.
Yeah, they had 20 shots and scored 11, but it seems to be a hallmark of our Kerry team this year, even through the league, at the games we were at as well, Donal. It's the structure, like I said, we get back to the structure. We have a defensive, it's very like basketball. I was watching them yesterday, that when the ball's coming down the left-hand side, you'll see Stephen O'Brien, you'll see Gavin and White in the far side. They're all stepping into the middle. The midfielders are stepping back. And it's a case of, before, if I was a Kerry defender and I was beaten, the man was gone straight in goals. Now you have 2 and you have 3 Kerry guys around the man. So there's this fantastic help there.
The one time yesterday that we were cut out in the centre of the field, ball broke down, we hadn't our structure in place and we gave away a goal.
See, that's the thing with it. That's what we're always saying with structure. If you can move the ball quickly and beat the defence, that's where it is. And we did that in the first half yesterday. But you got to give credit. It was a shot from 21 yards out. It was well taken. Our goalkeeper nearly got it. I know, nearly, but he was very close to it. But the ground shook. I said to myself, "Here we go again. Are we going back to the McManaman moment again? That the hill was rocking. You could feel the pitch vibrate. But no, Kerry looked settled. No, I think the Paddy Clifford point was crucial. We held the ball for over 3.5 minutes, and next thing he punched over the bar.
Hi lads, great show as usual. Dublin parked the bus for most of the league with yesterday's game in mind, no question about it. Fair play to the Kingdom for not folding, showed great mental strength at the end. Must go to Sean O'Shea's free kick, just came flying through the window, and that's from Brendan over in Boston. A lot of people, of course, watching all over the world, and of course Brendan got the delight. John Kennedy, he mentions a word there that's creeping into the game, mental strength, of course, and Jack O'Connor, of course, has the services of Tony Griffin with him, of course, the former great Clare hurler. Can you see that being built up inside in players when, we've gone now from fitness to what you eat to all sorts of training, but now we're moving more into the sports psychology and getting fellas right. And yesterday Kerry were mentally right, weren't they? I mean, like, they gave up a 5-point lead. In other years you would have said, oh God, the house of cards is coming down top of us and we're going to lose this by 4 points and we'll all go home fairly sad. Well, it didn't happen yesterday, so Tony Griffin has played a part.
There's no doubt. I think, like Liam said, it's about a lot of guys having jobs to do on and off the field, and I think certainly Tony Griffin, if you wouldn't Jax, when he came in, probably he looked at what they had to do to get over the line. We haven't been getting over the line for one reason or another. We've been so close. The personnel has stayed the same. On the field, he has identified guys and put him in positions. We'll mention Jason Foley and Tyg Morley. Mm-hmm. They have become from maybe not so sure to being completely on top of their game and a vital cogs in the team. He brought in Graham O'Sullivan. He's done a marvellous job. Mm. And he's identified the areas that we wanted to back up on. Paddy Talley was brought in, and his role was the defensive side of the team we needed to improve. We've said here several times, the centre of our defence was open. For the counter-attack, we were sucker punches like Cormac Costello's goal, but it happened more than once. And then the psychology. You're losing tight games. It has a draining effect on the team. Obviously, he identified Tony Griffin, well-renowned in his field, a former great hurler, had the advantage of being in the dressing room on big days,
yes,
as well as his profession, and that's very, very important. Yeah. And I think all the boxes were ticked, and we are where we are, and this is down to Jack O'Connor and his management.
Even to see him in the warm-up, I mean, Griffin is walking around the place, he wears this very distinctive, tall, yellow jacket. He looks he looks like a guy that could even go out and play. He's still super fit. He's around inside the huddles with people. Even Jack O'Connor yesterday, he was behind the goal gathering the ball, kind of things that you'd say, Jesus, the manager shouldn't be doing that. I mean, that's kind of beneath you, but it's all part of it. They're all together, and you could see that yesterday, Liam. It was a together performance, because even when the full-time whistle went, I mean, there was great joy even on the subs bench and things. And when you're on the subs bench, I mean, you want to be playing. I mean, but I mean, there's great delight. There's great team ethic here.
There is, and not only the sub bench, and I spotted the guys that played the county league the night before. They were all behind the sub bench, and they all went out, and they were just as happy as the guys on the field. And like I said, that started probably that cold night above in Ossenstack Park when Kerry played Limerick in the McGrath Cup. You could see there was blocks being built, and all through the National League, up to Monaghan, up to Armagh, these places. It was gradually growing. You could see they were aiming for something. There was something brewing, something growing, and I do think it came to the fore yesterday. Look, we're not going to get carried away with it. We've an All-Ireland final to play, but at the same time
your second one, sure, you were at an under 14 lead, is one there earlier.
That's right, and that went very well. And if it's as good as that, we'll be here for a long time.
You'll be flying. Hi Donal, Kerry showed great character to dig in and win that game with a mighty kick by Sean O'Shea, but everyone has to get back down to earth and not underestimate Galway, who are in the final on merit as well. Well done, and best of luck to the Kerry ladies too, and that's Charles in You Never Walk Alone, and of course, Charles. And listen, Charles, yeah, certainly you're hitting the nail on the head. It is a very good Galway side, and we'll discuss them as well later on the show. Fair play to Kerry and Dublin, played well too. I thought Derry were very poor on Saturday. I thought they might be dark horses, and that's John down there in West Cork. Of course, West Cork is a fine big place, John. We'll have to go figure out where you're hiding down there. Hi Donal, great show, super performance by Kerry yesterday. One thing that really annoyed me, this week with our county board sheltering a full round of county league games on the eve of Kerry's most important game. It shows a lack of respect for our clubs and club players. Yeah, I suppose with the split season, I suppose, the club players and county players have been kept separate. I mean, the county league is it's an 11-week schedule. A lot of games, of course, at the weekend. They all went ahead. Some teams were promoted and some teams were relegated. They all think. But I suppose the point possibly maybe some people that would have wanted to get away maybe on a Saturday evening up to Dublin, maybe early, that might have been stopped or held on. We'll get one more comment before we go. Jack's the man. This is a good comment. Jack's the man. One thing I'd be worried about was our kickouts. We were poor with kickouts and a lot of breaking ball that was lost as a result. Just in the score for Dublin. I would also consider the lack of ability to close out a game. Yesterday being the exception, a better Dublin team would have beaten us. Up the kingdom, onwards and upwards, and that's Timmy from Drummond. Fair play to you, Timmy. You have the radio on down there in the Gaeltacht, and that's great as well. And great defensive display yesterday, but as good as the euphoria was, we still have to finish the job. The experience and pain of 2019 will still stand to us. I want to say one thing. The Dublin supporters around us were so gracious. They had admiration for the Cliffords and complimentary at all of these individual great scores. Congratulated and shook hands at the final whistle. They often get a bad rap, but they just want to be acknowledged and how good they were on this occasion. And you know what, in fairness, it is one of the good things about the GA. You do go away, you have the banter, you have your I suppose you have your angry moments, and it is amazing how one supporter is pro the referee at one point and one is anti the referee at the other point. Speaking about refereeing decisions, Liam, that controversial penalty and Evan Comerford coming in for a small bit of heat, he certainly recovered fairly quickly. Delighted.
He did, Donal. Look, I suppose before the penalty I could have went down and kicked him myself, because we were all getting kind of annoyed with him for the way he was lying down, and you could see on camera that there wasn't much wrong with him. But to be fair to Shawnee, the ball rebounded off him, and if it was you, me or John, we would have done the exact same thing. I think he was quite entitled to go. His momentum after he kicked the ball probably took him and tapped him all right. But look, that's the way it was, and like he probably deserved no small kick in it, didn't he, to carry on.
Don't be saying things like that, Liam. God. Jason Sherlock is on his way very shortly to us, and we'll ask him, of course, for the Dublin reaction. Jason, of course, a great player, and of course a guy that shot on to the arena as well in '95, which was fabulous. John Kennedy won't know the answer to this question, I'm sure. Lads, when are tickets going on sale? John, you can just smile. It'll be hard to get, will they?
It'll be clubs, will it?
I'm not sure. It'll be more than likely clubs, I suppose. But look, it's great, Donal. The demand is there. People are at it already. They're booking trains and buses, and sure, isn't that what it's about? Yes. A weekend in Dublin and an All-Ireland final. It's great to be back there. Yeah.
Gavin White's injury. Jack Barry looked dead on his feet, and Dermot Connor worrying loss of form. There's plenty for Jack to ponder ahead of the All-Ireland. Liam, discuss.
Yeah, well, I suppose Gavin White's injury is a worry, all right, but I wouldn't say Dermot, Connor and these fellas. I think they did a role yesterday. Mm-hmm. You have to remember,
they're still finding their feet maybe in that competitive world. I mean, it's a big place midfield in Croke Park.
Oh, it is, yeah. And like you look at it and you analyse it. What did Brian Finton and their midfielders Laffy do yesterday? So, like, the boys did a role, they did a job. It doesn't mean they come away man of the matches or all-stars, stuff like that. And I think that's the way Jack has engraved a lot of stuff into these guys, that you have a role to do, you do your job, and the team will get over the line.
Yeah, of course, it takes 15 minutes to take the game home anyway, and you have to have them all. Lads, I have to laugh when you say there's respect at GA games for free takers. There has almost 50,000 people booing Sean O'Shea yesterday when he took the last minute free kick. It's something that's crept into the game, really. I mean, he's kicking into the into Hill 16. I presume if it was the other way around, we probably couldn't absolve ourselves from those sins.
No, I don't. I think, look, it's a part of the game, and I suppose with the goalkeeper swinging off the post as well, I think there was a bit of everything thrown into it. But look, once it went over, I wouldn't care what they threw at us.
Absolutely. Well, look, it went over the bar, and Kerry are in an All-Ireland final. First one since 2019. It's amazing how fast we forget the 2019 one. We had our hands on Dublin there as well, quite close. Now, where are we going? With plenty of comments, my God, they're all coming to us fairly hot and heavy. Fantastic match and atmosphere yesterday. Did the panel notice our guys going down with cramp near the end, and should we be concerned about this for 2 weeks' time? Ferocious pace and heat yesterday, of course, but Saturday was very hot, and Galway did not seem to settle with fatigue as easily as we did. When under pressure, we seemed to revert closer to last year's style of play compared to the league defensive structure. Quickly on that one, John, because we'll be joined now by Jason Sherlock. it's a good point, isn't it? When we kind of struggled yesterday, we did kind of retreat and we did kind of maybe fall apart for a couple of minutes. There is a fallibility still among us.
Well, there's no, like, it's not the finished article yet done. There's no doubt there's room for improvement. You know, there are areas that Jack won't be happy on, but it's a great way to go into final. And you know, about the cramping and stuff, the intensity off the ball and on the ball yesterday was quite incredible. You know, we spoke about the midfield earlier on. Look at the tracking these guys had to nullify them and keep them out of the game. Kieran Kilkenny, for instance, in the first half wasn't in the game. Brian Howard was getting on ball, making no headway. But the amount of work and chasing back that our backs and half forwards did, that's energy sapping. The heat that was out there. Croke Park, it's a cauldron.
Big field.
It's a big field. It's so difficult. And how many turnovers had we after running 40 or 50 metres to get back to cover?
Yeah, no man who's certainly sapped the energy out of an awful lot of players around Croke Park was Jason Sherlock. Delighted to have him on the line. Jason, I suppose there was initial disappointment amongst Dublin fans yesterday leaving Croke Park. Obviously when you lose, everybody's disappointed, but I think to be a fair assessment to say maybe after a good night's sleep that most people will feel that Dublin really threw everything they had at Kerry, and as good champions they went out the best they could.
Yeah, Donal, I think obviously it was a great game yesterday, and I think full credit to Kerry in getting the victory. I think from a Dublin perspective, yes, we were disappointed, and we should be disappointed because, like, if someone told me when I played against Kerry last in 2009 that Kerry wouldn't beat us again for 13 years, it'd be hard to believe. So you just don't know when the next time will be where Dublin have that dominance. So from that perspective, Dublin need to be disappointed and need to be asking questions about how they can come back better. But I think today obviously is about Kerry, and full credit to them. I think they've had a lot of tough days against Dublin over the last few years. And like sport, unfortunately, we don't get to know the modern players as well. It's not as social as it was a number of years ago. But I would have a lot of time for the likes of Paul Geaney and David Moore, and two of the older guys on that team, and no doubt they were big motivators for the team over the last number of years. So I have to say personally, I was delighted to see those guys get their day, and obviously hopefully now they can go on and win the whole thing.
Yeah, absolutely, Jason. I mean, they are two players who have soldiered an awful lot. It's a very good point that you make, as well. A lot of Kerry people don't even think about it. We haven't beaten Dublin since 2009. We talk about all these epic clashes. I mean, they're not so epic when you keep losing them. Did you see yesterday, though, that Kerry, for possibly the first time in a long time, they were physically up to the challenge? I mean, they bossed Dublin around. Particularly our defensive unit was probably more structured. Is that something that happens over time, and that Kerry just seem to be where we want to be now, where Dublin are kind of maybe just going down the other side of the slope, maybe?
Yeah, well, the thing about sport is it's how you respond to situations, and as we said, Kerry, they probably since 2019 they've underperformed in terms of results, and obviously even before then there was a lot of close games with Dublin where I'm sure Kerry felt they should have got the victory, but certainly it felt like Kerry were coming and have been coming, and obviously there's some significant players that are going to be around for a long time, but it's the sum of the parts, and obviously there was a motivation perspective there. Obviously psychologically, I think Jack O'Connor referred to it after the game, that mentally there was a lot of kind of experiences that the Kerry players were able to deal with. You mentioned the physicality, like if you take Seanie O'Shea for an example, I think he became a man yesterday. He's had some tough experiences against John Small over the last number of years, but he had his day yesterday, and that's full credit to him. So I think that's the worrying thing from a Dublin perspective, that it looks like this Kerry team now are on a big trajectory. And I know it was tight yesterday, but the reality is I think psychologically Kerry are going to be in a very good place when they do face Dublin again in the future.
Mm-hmm. It's amazing, I suppose, a market champions. I suppose there was a lot of Dublin players yesterday with, I suppose, pocketfuls of medals, and that tends to be a Kerry thing, or up to recently it was a thing that everybody around Kerry had pockets of medals in them. But there was a real champion spirit in them. They were 5 points down. It was a game they never really looked like owning or winning at that stage. But they rolled their sleeves up. They got back into it. The loss of Conor Callaghan was massive to that team, though, wasn't he?
In hindsight, he was, but like again, that's not an excuse. You know, Dublin teams and Kerry teams, we had big players missing in games in the past, and that's always going to be the case. And again, that's not a good enough excuse. Mm-hmm. As much as you can say that Con was a big impact, and I'd agree with that, I think the reality is for those teams to play in 12 months' time, I can see Kerry being back and being better. I would worry about Dublin being back and being as good, because, as you mentioned there were some great performance from our elder statesmen, the likes of James McCarthy, Mick Fitz.
Massive,
These guys, as you say, they've the pocket full of medals. And from a motivation perspective, it's going to be a very challenging for those guys to continue on and give what they have. And they've been great servants for Dublin, and they're entitled to do what they want. But I suppose from a Dublin perspective, that would be the worry, that you can't necessarily see where these guys are going to continue, and why these guys might continue to keep going.
And of course, look, there's so much asked of our county players now. It's not like it was maybe 20 years ago or 30 years ago, where, you know, I mean, the amount of time you put in, your social life is nearly put on hold as well, and it's season to season. One man, Jack O'Connor, singled out yesterday was Kerry Kilkenny. He kind of made of a point to head over to him leaving the field. Kieran is one of those great Dublin players, isn't he?
He is, and I think, like, if you look at the game in terms of the broad facts of the game, obviously Kieran came to life in the last quarter when it counts. I suppose you could question when Con was absent, could they have done something different with Kieran, maybe to challenge Kerry in the full forward line. They didn't do it, and I think unfortunately there were a couple of bad turnovers at crucial times for the Dublin from the Dublin players near the end. But yeah, like I suppose in a lot of ways, the guys that I would have coached over the last number of years, I think to a man they all performed, which was great to see, and I was obviously delighted to see that they all performed to the levels that we were used to. I suppose the challenge is whether those guys will be there next year or the year after, because as I said, I have a feeling that Kerry are going to be around for a good while now.
Jesus, Jason, you must be looking for all Ireland tickets off us down here, all the nice stuff you're saying about us. There's a big queue there. Jason, finally, I remember you lighting up a 95 game. You lit up a lot of 95 games, but the one in particular that stood out for me was the game against Laois, where you scored the ball in the back of the net with one boot missing, or had your wood and white sock on maybe. Do you remember who passed that ball to you?
I remember, I think he ended up being a manager for Dublin for a while. Absolutely.
A kind of a miskicked left-legged around the top, and he went on to win 6 in a row. Jim Gavin, of course, who we're referring to. Jim's legacy is massive, isn't it, in the GA?
It is. But, like, again, I suppose we knew we were in a special place at the time, and we knew it wasn't going to last forever. We'd so many weapons at the time that we knew we had players that could play either way and could finish off the game. But in saying that, we had some great matches with Kerry, we had some great matches with Mayo over the years in particular, and some of those games could have gone either way. So we were lucky to have that kind of dominance. And again, now Kerry have kind of got the monkey off their back by beating Dublin. It's their opportunity now, and that starts with Sunday week. I would say, before we finish up, I think psychologically, I think Galway have a head start. Like with the 2-week turnaround, psychologically, they had obviously an easier game, and from a recovery perspective, they were able to sit back yesterday and look at what's going to happen. What happened? I think emotionally and psychologically, I'm sure a lot of Kerry fans will think that the hard work is done, but the reality is you have to go out and win your final. So in that way, it's set up very nicely for a great final in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, Jason, we're delighted you took time out from your busy evening there to join us this evening. You still have some great fans down here in Kerry. Some of them remembering your basketball days as well, and of course your soccer days with Shamrock Rovers. Jason, listen, thanks very much for joining us this evening, and hopefully we'll be renewing acquaintances again shortly. Kerry versus Dublin. That, of course, was Jason Sherlock, fantastic player, of course. I was going to say in his day, but I mean it's hard to believe that 95 is so long ago. Now, hi Donal, Shimmy from Limerick. Great day out yesterday. Great to see 2,000 or 3,000 Kerry fans on the hill. Thought Gavin White was immense yesterday. His balance and skill is a sight to behold. He's immense. Disappointed, however, not to see his great Crokes colleague Micheál Burns not get game time. Looking forward to the final, and hopefully we will get a fair ref appointed. Well, there you go. We'll talk about refs and we'll talk about all that after this break. It was incredibly sweet to win a close and epic game after so many times being on the other side. Jack has added some discipline to the flair in a titanic battle that proved decisive. Trevor O'Sullivan there in the University Hospital. Trevor, you're very grateful to be listening to us here this evening. The boys are certainly delighted for you to be on the line as well. Another guy, Jerry O'Donoghue, are you out there? I'll give you a few seconds for a big roar. Hopefully that roars out, because Jerry O'Donoghue's listening to us in O'Donoghue's pub in Shepherd's Bush in London, and sure, why wouldn't it? It's a great place as well to be. Plenty Kerry supporters over there. Just wanted to say that it was great to see Kerry up there again and getting over Dublin on a big breakthrough. Very well done, and the best wishes to the Kerry team. And Jerry, you know, in fairness, it's great to have supporters all over the place carrying those Kerry jerseys. And Jerry is now going to stand around the drinks for everybody in O'Donoghue's pub there in Shepherd's Bush. I heard he has a big wallet. He might be from Corrie, you never know. Jerry, fair play to you. Now, please God, Sam will be coming home. Can't wait to see Joe Connor bring Sam down Denny Street in 2 weeks' time. Can we just take a moment to congratulate Tim and Ambrose for their unreal commentary, wishing both Kerry senior teams the best at the weekend, of course. I think that's from Ellen, of course. Tim and Ambrose. Now, they nearly went over the Hogan stand yesterday. Did you pull them back, Liam?
They did, and to be fair to him, myself and Billy were on top of him, so I'm glad there was no camera there, because I don't know how Timmy started talking, because we were jumping on top of him like babies. But look, the two boys are legendary at what they do, and it was the atmosphere. It was just everything. I suppose emotions ran with everyone around the stadium yesterday, and I think it was
absolutely
something to go down history for us anyway.
They're getting massive plaudits, and certainly well done. Tim does all the work, and Ambrose just cuts in there with his Logan Iguila brogue, and you know, he sees things as it is from a sitting down position. That's Ambrose outside there, and Tim. And certainly, guys, if you want to listen to Radio Kerry Sport and the All-Ireland final, definitely tune in here, because that's where we're going to get the best of it. Certainly the most passionate bit. In yards, lads, Sean O'Shea's kick, what was it? Moss wondering to find out. I don't know which one of you have a better degree, but Liam, you're doing the Leaving Cert honours there a while ago with your stats. We will throw that one to you.
I think it's 53 yards exactly. We've been reliably told.
You phoned a friend, did you?
I phoned a friend. I went out with a measuring tape after the game yesterday.
Absolutely.
And to be honest, that kick had another 53 yards on it.
Yeah.
With
and I suppose, in all fairness to the way he kicked it, he didn't kick it straight either. Didn't go at the crow flies. He went around, so you could add a little bit onto it. I was lucky to put that up on Twitter last night on our Terrace Talk handle there, and it was amazing. 13 or 14,000 people saw it straight away, and it's an amazing kick, the emotion afterwards. And one Brian Sheehan liked it on Twitter. Yeah, Brian Sheehan was certainly...
And we're blessed with Morris Fitz, Brian Sheehan, and now Shawnee Shade, that will go down there in history forevermore.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a skill that's going out for a game, but it's certainly, it was amazing. And wasn't it amazing that it was opted to be taken off the ground? Hopefully they decided to put it in his hand and have a go at it. So it really shows, that it's a massive skill. Sadly leaving our game, I suppose, but, it's still a huge one. Just a thought, for such fine margins, can Kerry make a big difference? If Kerry had lost by 1 point yesterday, or like the Dubs into extra time, would the analysis be a lot different? I suggest it would be certainly an awful lot different. Would people be saying Kerry don't have the bottle, or should the same rhetoric, etc.? Long way to go for Sam. Hopefully Kerry can deliver in 2 weeks' time. Yeah, and I think that is generally the thought that people are hoping, I suppose, Kerry can deliver, because we're going to talk about Galway after 7 o'clock, because they certainly are going to pose a big threat. John, looking at Galway, it wasn't the most exciting game for long stretches of it, but Galway done what they needed to do, and they done it in style.
Yeah, they had a job to do, Donal. Look, and they got through. And listening to people yesterday before the game, whoever wins today will win the All Ireland. It's going to be totally different. The semi-finals are there. It's an old cliche to get over the line and get to the final. Pádraig Joyce is a very astute man, and similar to Jack O'Connor, he's surrounded himself with very good people, particularly Cian O'Neill. His track record is there, not to be questioned, but to be applauded. He has done it. And, he has he's some exciting forwards. Midfield are decent. And, the defensive setup is quite similar to our own. So it could be an intriguing battle. Obviously, we'll be favourites. But look, Galway are there on merit. What a boost for Galway football. And as somebody said to me last night, wouldn't it be ironic, after all the trips Mayo have had to Croke Park, Galway come up and win in All Ireland? We hope it won't happen, but look, it'll be a great occasion again to see the tribesmen back in Croke Park, and tradition, and they're after winning the minors.
So, yeah.
Absolutely, and do you know about the minor game? Actually, I mean, they beat Mayo beat Kerry, of course, obviously. It was their third time facing off this year. I mean, is there something wrong with a system where you have to play 3 times, and the one time you lose the All Ireland?
Lose the All Ireland final, yeah. And I think the whole thing at minor level, taking it away from the big day and all this kind of stuff. I think he's taking the good out of it. I know there was a big crowd at the final because of Mayo and Galway, but I think it's something they have to, the Crow Park and the powers that be have to look at the age group and bring in the minors back to proper minor and play it in front of big games and let fellas, because that's when you were a young fella, that's what it wasn't. Putting on like the jersey was one thing, but to play in Crow Park before a big game was the thing.
Liam, it may be the only opportunity some of these guys will ever get to play in Crow Park. And what an honour to run out in Crow Park on All Ireland final day. Yeah. And one of the reasons I believe that the Crow Park officials or the management team up there is that they wanted to keep the younger fellas away from the hype and the euphoria. But I think it's the opposite they should be doing, because it's the place everyone wants to play. Croke Park, All Ireland final day, win or lose.
Yeah, and I think we're going to lose a lot of players because of it as well, because there's such a gap there. Yeah. And there's nothing for them when they come out of minor unless they step up to under 20. So it's the whole thing has to kind of be looked at.
Now, one gang, of course, that experienced Croke Park not for the first time. Listen to this for a quote. I remember watching Breaking Ball years ago in the 90s, and there was a man on talking about Kerry Hurling, and he said that he thought it was a pipe dream that Kerry Hurling might be somewhat competitive. Every week during the year, Kerry were putting in good performances, and they are now competitive. They're stepping up. They're trying their best even to get into the Munster Championship, and they're being really competitive. Kilkenny is a long way back from there, but it just shows you what you can do if you get to the start of the road. Those are the words by Paul Murphy, Kilkenny footballer, and of course 4-time All-Ireland winner and 4-time All-Star. And wasn't it fantastic, I suppose, yesterday to see the Kilkenny footballers win the All-Ireland Junior Football final in Croke Park, and of course a former Ardfert footballer and Kilmiley hurler, Christy Walsh. I had to divide North Kerry evenly there because they all claim credit to him, but Kilmiley say there he is. I remember, of course, Kerry playing Kilkenny 92. They defeated Kilkenny 5-20 to 1-3 that day. It's a long time ago. I think it was November or December. The league was kind of played in different halves that time, and the reason I remember it is that Michael Gavin from Steam scored 2-3 in a forward line that contained Carol Dwyer and David Farrell, and the reason I remember that was I was marking Michael Gavin the day after that game in some South Kerry game. Ambrose was full back, Billy O'Shea was on the team, Morris Fitz and Seamus Moynihan and Dermot Hanifin. Isn't it amazing that people say there was no football ever in Kilkenny, and yet we can talk about some of the greatest players out of this county, Morris and Seamus, having played Kilkenny. It just goes to show you that, if Kilkenny do get on the road, and of course it is a hurling county, but it needs time and help. But that was a good first start, Liam, wasn't it? In Croke Park, the pictures, the news, it's very positive for Kilkenny football.
Will that give it a massive boost, and I think that was very well put, them few words there, because it's like you said, Kerry Hurling was at that stage probably back in the 90s, and now look at it, and there's no reason why Kilkenny can't be in the same situation with the football, and they're after getting a great leg up yesterday, playing above in Croke Park. There's youngsters at home with Kilkenny jerseys looking at the footballers instead of the hurlers yesterday, so it can only bode well for it.
And if Kilkenny don't deliver in the hurling, they'll have a football.
They'll have a football.
Like Donal again playing in Croke Park, we saw what it meant to them afterwards. Paul Murphy going up meeting his family in the stand, a man that has done it all in hurling. He was so emotional. And there was another link yesterday with the New York team. Shane McKellick at the corner forward, his grandfather Thomas Sullivan is from SD, great football in his own time. But what an achievement for those lads to be over in Croke Park, and what it meant to them. Joe and Kylie and all these people around, the work they're putting in across our exiles, no more than the guys in London listening a while ago. Isn't it fantastic to see them? And I hope that they'll come back again and that they'll learn from yesterday. But it's all about Croke Park.
Mm-hmm. Of course, you're very local. Joan Kylie. She'll be delighted with you, won't she?
There's 2 tickets there.
Going straight over. Joe and Kylie and Joan Hinch will send a few more over. And of course, and Joan, of course, doing fabulous work over there in New York. Of course, sponsored by a gang from down South Kerry as well.
That's right, right.
And a couple of more. It's amazing the amount of Kerry connections, of course, outside this country as well. Of course, we're jogging on now till the news. One more comment, lads, great win yesterday. We certainly did everything we could to lose it though, but in the end we showed real character to win it. Would we have won this in previous years? Is this the Jack factor? Well, we'll discuss that maybe afterwards. The boys were saying that Jack has added a little bit more to it. Is that why he's after adding it? And we're going to talk about people coming in late after games as well, Liam. There's plenty of comments there. And our friend with the chips, he's back again this week. He's back again.
No ketchup.
No ketchup this week. So we will shoot now to the news. On Gaeltacht listener, Why did play go on, lads, when Jason Foley went down injured? Dublin got a resulting point. Please put that to our panel. It's certainly, I was watching it from the Devon stand, of course. Dublin player arrived late, kind of into the back of him. He went down, bad back. But he was down on the ground for a while. Play went on, John. Can you explain maybe why the play wasn't stopped as opposed to sometimes that you see it being stopped?
I think at that occasion, Donal, we took the free and we moved it ourselves. It's only for a head injury, to my reckoning, that you hold up the play. And it happened a few times during the game. And it can be dangerous enough if the play breaks up above and comes back down. But look, that's the way it was. And as the listener rightly said, it led to a score.
Absolutely. And at that stage, it got Dublin kind of even closer if it didn't even get to the level. Congratulations to both the Kerry senior teams and management on good wins at the weekend. Continued best luck to the Kingdom. We have a 2-assist player, Julie O'Sullivan, in the Kerry senior ladies, and the best of luck to them, and hoping that they'll win the All-Ireland as well. That's Dermot and Margaret Hand down there in 2-assist, 2 great supporters. And we'll be talking about Kerry ladies football there at about maybe 7 with Dan Kearney, and we might have something special for some people as well. Hi Donal, as someone who's been supporting Kerry in Croke Park for 50 years, yesterday will go down as one of the best. Cluxton's first in 2011 was brilliant kick, no doubt, but the difference is that Cluxton had to walk only 100 metres. Shawnee O'Shea had thousands of metres ran around Croke Park in the last 80 minutes of playing time. No managers or selectors were running around the pitch telling him what to do. Management and players trust each other, and Sean O'Shea trusted himself. This is a great sign of togetherness. Great show every week, and that's John Joe in Castle Gregory. And I think, John Joe, you probably have put the 2 boys out of business here, because I think you've hit everything along the way. I like the word, John Joe, that you use, togetherness, and it's something that you kind of see in teams, Liam. It's something that you want to build in teams. It's not always easy to get it, but there does seem to be that trust and togetherness in this bunch now.
It does, and I suppose it comes as well, Donal, through hurt and pain. A lot of these guys have suffered a lot of losses. We don't have a lot of All-Ireland medals in that team. There's only a handful of fellas with them, so these guys want to make their own path, and it's like, I think he covered it all in his thing there. Everything with trust, and but like that, and I hate to repeat myself, it's coming back to management and the whole setup, that we're mentally strong, we have a structure, but we have an All-Ireland final to win.
Absolutely, and of course it is amazing. The ship will sink fairly quickly, Liam, if we don't bring Sam. If Sam isn't sitting here Monday in 2 weeks' time,
we all might be calling in sick.
Absolutely, we all calling in sick. Now, here's one for you. I kind of see it because I sometimes it's all about the football, but this one is this is going to open a debate. People are going to take sides in this. People coming in late to games. If people are not in their seats before the game starts, they should be not left in until half-time. Far too many Dublin people at the game yesterday with no real interest in the game, arriving in late, upsetting people. Discuss, John Kennedy.
It's annoying, Donal. I've said that. People coming in late, it's annoying. Obviously, there's various different reasons for it, but, it's one thing to not let them in, I suppose. But at the same time, people can get caught up, even though there was a huge crowd in for the start yesterday, Donal, but you'll always have the stragglers, you'll always have somebody coming in, and unfortunately 9 times out of 10 they're at the end of the seat, so everybody has to move for them.
And then they might have to go to the toilet 5 times in the middle of the game as well.
Actually, I'll be honest, I have to agree with this listener, because if you told me to be there at 1 o'clock, I'd be there at 9:30 in the morning parking the car for fair. I wouldn't get in time. And so we were there good and early. We were there as Kilkenny were walking out the field even yesterday, and that was quite early, because at the stage there wasn't 4 people there. Now, we got to the field early, watched Kilkenny win the game. The stand filled up gradually, right up to the parade, and you get to the parade and people are filling their seats. It's amazing how 10,000 people can fill a seat fairly quickly, and they're all in. But about 7 minutes into the game, people were still coming in and getting into their seats, and then, like you said, you have to get back up, and obviously they're not sitting in seat 4, they're sitting in seat 27, so everybody has to get up and over and back. But what annoyed me yesterday was, in this occasion, a guy got all the way over to the end and then discovered some other guy was sitting in his seat. So the two of them had to get up, and they had to be brought across, and the steward arrived down, and of course they were checking what section they were in. Were they 322 or 321 or the UUU or what they were, the whole lot. But it created a huge disturbance, and it was quite funny, because it was funny for about 40 seconds. But then Kerry scored the goal, nobody saw it. Nobody knew that David Moran put the ball in. We had a bit of a television in the corner. So there probably is something in it that you should be seated. Because I presume if you go to a concert venue and you're watching whoever you're paying 60 or 80 euros for, they're not going to appreciate singing a song and someone walking in. And I know it's a bit different, and I know, I suppose we're just trying to open a little bit of debate. But the thing that really annoyed me about this one particular person was, having sorted themselves out finally, 5 minutes before half time, they were gone back out again, and everybody was up again over again. So I don't know, there's something about it. Maybe go down to your local county league.
You're telling us so, Donal, you missed the goal yesterday, didn't you?
I missed the goal. I'm sorry, David Moore. I saw it on television last night. I didn't know you kicked the ball in. But I do know that I was in the right seat for most of it. Lads, will ticket prices be increased for the final? And will children have tickets available to them?
Very limited, I'd say, Donal, and I think it'll be very close to 80 or 90 euros for an All-Ireland.
It's going to be 90, Liam, yeah.
90?
You'll get a tenner back, maybe.
Am I OA pieces?
Well, you might get a tenner back from your 100, maybe. Or maybe he has a pocket full of them being a sponsor, maybe. John Kennedy, 90 euros. I suppose it's the occasion. I mean, yesterday we all slagged the J off and it's inaccessible. We went to the match yesterday, we brought young people, we paid a tenner to watch the game, in fairness. I mean, the J have to be applauded for that. I mean, that was outstanding. Now we were all down the Devon stand, not able to see David Moore kick that great ball in, admittedly. But apart from that, it was the 10 euros, it was 50. I met Mark Huzzy out there from North Kerry. You know, he was there. He brought his 3 kids, 2 adults as well. I mean, it was hugely accessible to them, which is a great family thing. It's probably kind of sad in the sense that they won't experience that in an All-Ireland final sense, but it's getting more serious as well, I suppose, at the side of it. As a side to that, Liam, should the GA bring in ticket pricing at different values for different seats? Because it does make a bit of a thing that you're paying 50 euros for the central field in the Hogan, and you have everything left and right of you, and you're also paying 50 euros for being in the Nally, maybe, where you can barely see the field, or maybe up at the very top.
Yeah, and I think there's a bit of furrow as well, that a lot of the good tickets weren't released until, was it the couple of days before, was it Tuesday or Wednesday before the game, and whereas they released all the kind of the average tickets the week or two leading up to it. You know, look, there'll always be hassle with tickets, no matter what. I met a couple of fellas outside the Gresham yesterday, and they had tickets in their hand, and they were waiting for fellas, and they wanted to get up to the pitch, and the fellas, I suppose, they were waiting for everyone inside the pub, and no sign of them. You know, so there's always going to be a story with tickets, and I think, look, All-Ireland finals, even since I was a very small boy, you know, met looking to go to games, well, the dad was trying to get tickets, and I think it's going to be no different for this. I think everyone wants to go to this All-Ireland final as well.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, it's an All-Ireland final, John. Of course, we all want to be there. We weren't like John Kennedy. He got a couple of free tickets there for a few years. Handy ones. He just had to line out at half forward and he'd be
kick a few points.
He'd be grand. Anything to get in this field. Lads, look, we have so much to talk about, but we have a big build-up week coming as well. We'll have you in again. John Kennedy, look, thanks very much for your time. It's fantastic. Liam Brosnan, who was at one All-Ireland final this year, he's hoping to get a ticket for his second one. You'll never know, he might be there.